Man's problem, as Aurobindo reveals to us, is that he is caught between two worlds. Very beautifully in one of his poems, A Tree, he describes the life of man. A tree besides the sandy river beach, holding its topmost boughs like fingers to the heaven it cannot reach. This is the soul of man, his body and brain hungry for earth, his heavenly flight detain. He is caught between two worlds because he carries within him, on the one hand, the seed of divine perfection, and therefore we always seek perfection. Perfection in life, perfection in world, perfection within us, perfection in relationships, perfection in what we do. It's a drive which is inbuilt. And even collective perfection. That's why though we human beings get mad at each other, we are by nature nomads. We should remember it. I know mad at you and you know mad at me. But we are nomads since the beginning of humanity. You see, man has been searching, going here, there, everywhere, in search of a promised land, in search of a heaven upon earth, in search of a beautiful space. And when he is done with exploring earth, then he goes to distant stars. When he is done with distant stars, he goes exploring inside to find states of consciousness which are higher and higher. But even when he discovers states of consciousness which are beyond, that doesn't satisfy him, because his ultimate original urge is to integrate. Life here must be perfect. That's what he is here for. He is meant to do that. He is meant to be the bridge. But he doesn't know how. Even in his flight to the beyond in search of the new land, he enters no land, which we call nirvana. So it doesn't make him, fully happy. He searches for the new land, the promised land. And as we read in the morning, Aurobindo, the avatar, opens the door of this greater world, this new world. He opens that which is hidden in the unmanifest. He aspires to bring it down. That is his work. That is his aspiration, to bring down a greater world. That man cannot do. It is the work of the avatar to do this work. Man is by nature not capable. He doesn't even know. He seeks, but he doesn't know where to find, where it is hidden. Is there really a new world? Because mind is constantly throwing doubts. The life force is constantly impeding his advance. The body, of course, totally resists. So the avatar comes and aspires and opens the doors and brings down a greater world. That's his work. But there is another work which has to be done at this end. Man has to receive this new world. This new world doesn't hang in thin air. And therefore we read the mother's comings through the yoga of Savitri, that she opens the doors, gives the yoga to man, walking on which he can become ready to receive the new world. Otherwise, the new world is like, man will collapse under its weight. Aurobindo describes that in some of his early writings, that if you give the mace of Bhima to be lifted up by an ignorant fellow, if perchance he lifts it up, it will fall upon himself. And there are examples, cases, where in search for the supramental, by one's own effort, people became inframental. They lost whatever little mind and common sense they had, because the ego self, wants to draw it for itself, enter into a state of aggrandizement, and it collapses under its weight. So she gives the yoga to man. That's her work. So we see how Mother and Aurobindo, they work together. Aurobindo opens the door of the beyond, and that's why we see Mother heard his command. The hour has come when the new world door is opened on 29th February. Whereas Mother walks with us, holds our hand, carries us, identifies with earth nature. So that explains what we read in the morning, that Aurobindo's yoga, it would have remained incomplete without the Mother's coming. It won't have been able to help others, because you can either do this or you can do that. So he identifies with the beyond, unmanifest, brings it down, whereas the mother works from here. So what is man's aspiration? Man's aspiration is to find the bridge without which his life will always hang between a state of temporary, transient fulfillments and transient unhappiness. So this man's aspiration to bridge the two is beautifully there in Savitri, Book 5, the Book of Love, where Satyavan describes page 405. So Satyavan describes what all he has achieved. Satyavan is the soul of man, and the love of Satyavan and Savitri is the love of the human soul for the love of, to the Divine Mother. That is what this love is about. So he describes to Savitri who he is, what he has discovered, what he has known, what he has felt. But toward the end he says on page 405, it's a long passage and I'll try to just cut down. I felt a covert touch. I heard a call, but could not clasp the body of my God or hold between my hands the world mother's feet. In men I met strange portions of a self that sought for fragments and in fragments lived. Each lived in himself and for himself alone, and with the rest joined only fleeting ties. This is the reason for our grief, and this is the reason why we are perpetually unhappy with human relationships, because we seek a fragment. We find a fragment, but not the completeness. So human beings try to multiply, as if all relations could combine, we will be able to find the one, but it doesn't work like that. One has to discover the one, and then all relations will find their place. So he's describing this life of humanity. Each passioned over his surface joy and grief, nor saw the eternal in his secret house. And yet he is in search for that perfect one. I conversed with nature, mused with the changeless stars, God's watchfires burning in the ignorant night, and saw upon her mighty visage fall a ray prophetic of the eternal sun. All this man has achieved. Even in his inner life, he has discovered the ray, the intuitive beams through which he can glimpse the presence of the one hidden behind nature. I sat with the forest sages in their trance. There poured awaking streams of diamond light. I glimpsed the presence of the one and all, but still there lacked the last transcendent power, and matter still slept empty of its Lord. The spirit was saved, the body lost and mute. So this is the power, the last transcendent power, without which matter remains what it is. So we have a choice. We can go within, discover the divine, we can go above into the beyond, get some touch of the infinite, but matter, life here with matter as its base, remains empty and vacant. And that has to be bridged, that power has to be found. And we read in the morning, Aurobindo clearly reminding us, but vain are human love and human power. Humanity doesn't have that power. And that power which can fill this abyss called matter, this darkness called this world, and transmute it, that power is love. So love is the power, and the Divine Mother brings that power along with her to transmute it. And that is why if we really want to change things, it's a paradox that we want to change things while remaining at the same level. It doesn't work out. So now Satyavan gives us the secret. He has tried to find love in many human relationships. He has tried to find the divine presence here and there and glimpsed it. But he has not yet found the power that can really bridge the two. But intuitively now he knows it. And beautiful lines, but thou hast come and all will surely change. When Aurobindo was asked, what is the secret of harmony? Aurobindo gave a one-line reply, union in the mother. The moment we step out of that and try to find harmony, we end up finding adjustment, acceptance, all that is fine, accommodation, adaptation, but it's not harmony. They are semblances, but not the real thing. But when we discover the Divine Mother, when we begin to live in her, harmony becomes a way of life. Because there is no more the ego which is struggling and feeding the other's ego. See what happens with human life. We feed each other's ego, and after a while it becomes so a way of life that if two people don't fight with each other for a few days, they begin to wonder, do you really love me? No quarrel, for some time. So, but that's what human love is about. Behind all the gloss and all the glamour and all that, big names that we may use it. So you must know what it is about, and who else but death can tell us. So we have in Savitri, page 611, death reminds Savitri, says that, look, don't try to establish true love here. True love here comes only when the lover is gone. Then you can, people build, erect monuments like Taj Mahal, even if they fought forever in their life. But after death, they must build a Taj Mahal. And perhaps the reason is that, this man was separated for quite some time, and then after death, he was gazing all the time. Sometimes I wonder what was he gazing. Probably he must be thinking, his son had made him a captive, Shah Jahan. So as a mercy, strange idea of mercy, he allowed him to gaze at Taj Mahal, a monument built in the, memory of his loved queen. What he must be thinking. Probably this, that, why did I fight all my life? I wish we could have lived happily ever after, and so on and so forth. So death reminds Savitri that you want to bring down a greater love, that power of love, but man is not capable of holding it. What is the use? You will bring the power and he will spill it over like he has been doing with all the powers. You bring knowledge, he erects a belief system. He traps it into religions. He makes a cult out of it. He does many things. You bring knowledge and he does that. You bring power and he turns it for his egoistic purposes. He calls it my power, my capacity, etc., etc. And you bring love, you know what is going to happen? And he shows the mirror of humanity to Savitri. To strive, constant associates without joy, two egos straining in a single leash, a leash of ignorance in which they are tied and they are straining. That's how the gods play with us, two dogs tied to a leash and they're barking at each other. They cannot devour each other. At the same time, they can't stay away from each other because, after all, a companion. So this is how he's describing by leash. Two minds divided by their jarring thoughts. Two spirits disjoined, forever separate. Thus is the ideal falsified in man's world. Trivial or somber, disillusion comes. Life's harsh reality stares at the soul. Heavens are adjourned, flees into bodiless time. Death saves thee from this and saves Satyavan. It's good that you are married only for 1 hour, 1 year. Take it as a grace. If this would have gone to the 2nd anniversary, already you would have started feeling the drift. And by 7th anniversary, it would have been, I think better we see a lawyer rather than a priest. But Aurobindo brings us hope very beautifully that even in human love, there is something which is hidden, which is beautiful. And And we can see it even in the most ignorant of love. Page 397. To live, to love are signs of infinite things. Love is a glory from eternity's spheres. Abased, disfigured, mocked by baser mites that steal his name and shape and ecstasy, he is still the Godhead by which all can change. Even in human love of a most ordinary kind, people who have experienced love even for a moment, human love, we are not talking of the divine love, which is, far more powerful and there is nothing beyond it. And yet, even that for a moment, if at all human beings ever change for anybody, for any reason, it is out of love. And of course, women are the classic example, perhaps because I really believe they alone can love. And to love really, truly, we have to become women. Is there in Aurobindo aphorism, that only when I became a woman, I discovered really what God is. Because as long as we live with the pride of man, we cannot discover it. Because there is a power of love. So even in human love, there is something which can touch momentarily. People change for the sake of love. But alas, it is temporary and it's only for a short while. A mystery wakes in our inconscient stuff. A bliss is born that can remake our life. For a moment we feel as if, this is heaven, if there is a heaven. But only the hearts that love are given 1 hour to live. This is the tragedy of human life. But again, Aurobindo gives us hope, he always gives us hope. And we see the evolution of love. What we are experiencing is not all that we can be. There is much more that is to come. So here we see the sense of, when Aurobindo speaks of evolution, it's not about, of course, Darwinian evolution, etc., but it's about the principle of truth which is there within the seed, which is there within this darkness of ignorance, that must keep on refining itself through a process of yagna. So the lower has to be sacrificed and burnt in the fire of purification so that its truer form can come. So in that sense, we are all like, goldsmiths who must sieve the gold out of the raw. Then through water, we pass away a lot of impurities. Then we have to, put it to fire and the flame. Then it becomes more and more pure. And ultimately, a beautiful vessel can be shaped for God's descending light. So this is the process, and that's what we see in ancient yogas, sacrifice. So sacrifice is not about leaving something. People think sacrifice means, okay, I must leave this behind and find that. But that is the old way. The new way or the true way or the proper way is that I pick this up and refine it, purify it, apply the flame of divine love which kills and saves. That's why, Mother Kali, she is the embodiment of intense and passionate love, and she is Namund Malini. She slays our ego and puts a garland, but that saves the human soul alive. So we have to keep on applying that till a time comes that it can really grow into something beautiful and true and pure. Mother explained it very beautifully in one of her talks. When she was asked that, if love comes in our life, what should we do? So she says, because, the disciple raises the question that we are supposed to love only the divine. So what happens if human love comes into our life? What should we do? She says, go through it. It is the best preparation for divine life. And then she explains, it's not a best preparation in terms of it will make you disillusioned. She says, you have 2 options. One is that you leave it aside and go toward the divine, it's fine. It's not that this option is invalid. But she says, sometimes people do it by crushing the very energy of love, and it may take few lives to recover even the energy, because, one has crushed the energy. Now, this energy in its raw state, if we can purify it by learning to love unselfishly, by learning to really take care not to bring in any expectations, any rewards, what I am getting out of it, then this love becomes more and more pure, and eventually, she says, you will touch the principle of divine love which is in every human being. That's why I now often quote this example that in Indian thought we have the Prata Smarniya Panch Kanyas. Every woman is supposed to remember the 5 great women. Now, who are these 5 great women? One of them is a monkey, Tara. She is Bali's wife. Bali is a monkey. Now, how is she? And she married once her own, brother-in-law because, it was rumored that Bali is dead, and so, she had to marry because she had to run the kingdom. And yet she is Smarniya. The second one is Draupadi. She had 5 husbands. And Prata Smarniya, Mandodari. She is a demoness, Rakshasi by birth. And she is Prata Smarniya. Surely we must be missing something. So, this much about the holiness. But they are Prata Smarniya because regardless of their station of consciousness, regardless of their conditions, regardless of their circumstances of birth and situations in which they found themselves in, they continued to love in a true way, in a beautiful way. And that's what makes them great, and that's why in Indian thought there was the conception of Sati. Sati only a woman was. There was nothing like a parallel conception of Sata. Men. I know those who understand the Hindi meaning of Sata know what I am saying. But because men could not, as simple as that. But the feminine energy could do it. So here Savitri reveals the transformation of love as it takes place. That, she's telling death, no, what you are saying is one side of the story. You are picking up one small scene, fragment of a scene. You'll see in old Indian movies that if you see halfway through, you just wonder, villain is winning or, what's happening. It's so sad that the two have got separated, and you'll start feeling it's not worth watching. So wait till the end. So then you'll see the villain gets a good, whiplash back. And ultimately, the two who loved are united. But they have to go through that process of, purification. Of course, English movies were more difficult, at least for me, because I didn't understand till the end that who is the hero and who is the villain. I was so used to the Hindi movie idea that there has to be a hero and there has to be a villain. Now, of course, things are changing. And the names, that's the thing. So much later you realize, okay, so half the time went away in asking, okay, tell me who is the hero, so that I can at least follow it up. Of course, now things are different. So you see, this is the transfiguration that is taking place, described on page 632. And Savitri to death, a mystic, slow transfiguration works. It happens. You see, people even, that's why in marriages, for example, we say there are 3 phases. The first phase is the honeymoon phase. Everything is hunky-dory, everything is beautiful. Then the difficult phase, when people can even separate, they can go here, there, all kinds of things may happen. But it is documented, if they can still continue, then the relationship is very solid and very deeply founded. Then doesn't matter, whatever happens, even if people are separated by time and space, they know each other and they know that, this fellow, I know him. And the man knows, because then love has entered into that phase which has gone beyond. But, in an age of McDonald's, it's very difficult to go past the second stage. That's the stage of vital evolution. So it's a slow process, but we can hasten it through the power of yoga. In deaths, a mystic slow transfiguration works. All our earth starts from mud and ends in sky. And love that was once an animal's desire, then a sweet madness in the rapturous heart, an ardent comradeship in the happy mind. You see, this is also is describing a relationship must evolve through all these, otherwise it'll get stuck. A time must come when it changes into a happy comradeship. Then you don't have to really remember the marriage anniversary or write a letter and say, I wish you good, happy birthday. It's okay, we are too close to wish happy birthday and forget happy birthday. It doesn't matter at all because these things become trivial. And then what happens after this human love, then it graduates into something else. Aurobindo describes this in Synthesis of Yoga, that the psychic being by its nature seeks love, beauty and ananda, because that's what it's seed of. But in the beginning it turns towards human beings. And later on it turns towards its own source. Then a sweet and love that was once an animal's desire, then a sweet madness in the rapturous heart, an ardent comradeship in the happy mind becomes a wide spiritual yearning space. And the same love, going through the process of purification, enters into a state where it yearns for the absolute. A lonely soul passions for the alone. And it seeks moment, just as in human love. When people love each other, they want moments when, they can find time alone. When parents are not there, when nobody is there, and they can converse with the beloved hand in hand, heart to heart. So when we begin to love God, a time comes when we seek these lonely moments, because that's a time when we are intimate with the divine beloved. And when we are with the crowd, we are somewhere, oh my God, I have to meet my beloved. He's waiting for me. Oh God, when will I get some time? Because it begins to yearn like this. A natural change which comes. It cannot be brought by any mechanical means. Of course, if you are in the company of God lovers, it can come much faster and much easily, because they carry a very tremendous power of contagion. That's why it is said that one must seek the company of God lovers, because automatically it comes. The heart that loved man thrills to the love of God. And this is a wonderful love of which nothing can be said. Aurobindo says that nothing is denied to the God lover, because he is the very self of the divine beloved. For everybody else there is a rule, process, law, method, etc. But you ask the path of love, what is the rule? What is the method? The divine will change his own laws for the sake of the divine lover. That's the beauty and the divine beloved. There's a very nice poem in Hindi. Shri Krishna changed the law of nature. It was evening and he made it night for the sake of Arjuna. So people ask, why would he do it? Well, one poet has captured, mystic poet, this mood of the divine when he leans towards the human soul in love with him. He says, प्रबल प्रेम के पाले पढ़कर प्रभु को नियम बदलते देखा, अपना मान टले टल जाए, भक्त का मान न टलते देखा. He is moved by the love and he changes the very laws. सृष्टि के नियम बदल देंगे. That is the power of love. It can change. And people may call him, look Krishna, what did he do? अपना मान टले टल जाए. People may say that, he didn't play by the fair rules. But bhakt ka maan na talte dekha. But he doesn't allow, once he takes into his hands, one cannot imagine what ecstasy there lies in love of the divine. Actually, once one tastes it, and I'm sure a drop of that love and all the love in all the universes on the other side, this drop comes heavy. This is the power of this love which we have to embody. But it's not easy, because with ego we cannot. Kabir put it very beautifully. He says, प्रेम गली अति साकरी तामे दो न समाही, जब मैं था तब हरि नहीं, जब हरि तब मैं नहीं. It's a very narrow passage. Divine wants to meet us in that narrow passage. So, how do you meet? Two people cannot stand there. So you have to fling into each other's arms. So either you will survive or God will survive. Obviously, you are not going to survive when you fling into his arms. So Prem Gali Ati Sakri, either I was there or he is there. The two cannot be together. So it begins to yearn. A lonely soul passions for the alone. So if we find ourselves in a state of loneliness, people often call it a disease. They suffer loneliness. It's so strange. They don't realize it's such a blessing, this loneliness, because it can really open the doors to the divine much faster. If only there were psychiatrists who would tell them, look, your loneliness is not a curse but a blessing, man. Open that door which is waiting for you. The heart that loved man thrills to the love of God. A body is his chamber and his shrine. Where does he come to meet? in this very body. He comes here, He dwells here. Then is our being rescued from separateness. All is itself, all is new felt in God. It's not that He takes away everything. He gives us later on, but now it's like a trust. It's no more ours, because there is no more us or me, but He. And whatever is there in our life comes as a trust. But what is this love? A few lines below, Savitri reveals. My love eternal sits throned on God's calm. For love must soar beyond the very heavens and find its secret sense ineffable. It must change its human ways to ways divine. Even when we love the divine, we love Him very humanly. The traditional bhakti yoga, if you read, you will see Viraha, Mirabai, whose love for the divine is unquestionable. What does she say? In the beginning she says, Jo me aso janati, prem kiye dukh hoye, nagar dhindora pitati, prem na kijo koye. If I knew this is the pain I am going to get out of love, I would have declared, announced all over the world, never, never love. But what she says as she grows into this love, Mero to girdhar gopal dosuro na koi, Shyam mane chakar rakho ji, keep me your servant and your slave. I have none else but Lord, thou, thou, thou. So this is the change that comes. But in the beginning, the human way is where we love the divine egoistically. The divine also, like a genie in the bottle for me. If He can do things for me, I have a checklist, 1 to 10. If He can at least make 6 things tick, then I would say He is divine. I'll make Him pass. Possible divine. 8, then He is pakka divine. 10, then yes, I have no doubts. But wait, there may be 11th demand, which He may decide out of His own fancy. Well, this I am not going to do. People often say, for Pondicherry, this used to be a joke, that when you go in the beginning, whatever you desire, suddenly it comes true. You want to have chola in dining room, there will be chola. You want, it's too hot and there will be rain. So, the old sadhaks would say, wait a sec, this is the first phase. After he has hooked you around him and he knows you are not going to go anywhere, then he changes the rules of the game. Then you say, it is too hot, and next day the temperature soars higher. He knows now you are his. Why are you doing this? No, I am preparing you for a greater love. What were you doing in the beginning? I was hooking you to me. So that this love can transmute the human love. So we must change our human ways into ways divine. Human ways to ask and want and want and want, and the divine ways to give and give and give. And the divine doesn't, expect of us without doing it first Himself. It is, how is the power of love born? Very often people say, why creation and all these things? At least one power, which is the sweetest of all, of the divine, would have never ever manifested, and no one would have ever known that power if creation would not have been. And that is the power of love. Because in creation, at least in this creation, we have the sense of separateness. And we long for love, and when we receive it, and the longer it takes to receive it, people understand in olden times in ancient India, where people had to wait sometimes for years to get married, and they knew what it means to wait and get married. And now we get married and then we get married. So, we sometimes, that joy of waiting and the union that comes after waiting and longing, that is lost. But the divine is still in this matter a bit conservative, and He makes us wait, prepares us. And when we are ready, then He says, now I am ready for the full disclosure, because it's not easy. So she says that it must change its human ways to ways divine, yet keep its sovereignty of earthly bliss. So not the love which, leaves earth and goes into the beyond, but all the joy of this earth, all the joy of the manifold relationships of this world, with everything we can engage, but provided we change it from the human way, which is an egoistic, selfish way, into a divine mode, which is selfless and transcends the ego. So what is the sign of that? O death, not for my heart's sweet poignancy, nor for my happy body's bliss alone, I have claimed from thee the living Satyavan. We love for our own sake for these things. But for his work and mine, our sacred charge, our lives are God's messengers beneath the stars. That is the ultimate ideal of love. And here, of course, we see that the love of the human soul with the divine, both are needed, because man is the instrument through which the divine engages or builds perfection. But even if we look at it from the symbol and the storyline, there too, the true love between two human beings is not a love of the flesh, not a craving of the heart, not a hunger, not a dependency, not a need to devour, etc., etc. Not two halves meeting helplessly, but two complete beings. And they come together because they have to do a work of the divine upon earth. This was the ancient secret, and she reveals it here. Our lives are God's messengers beneath the stars. To dwell under death's shadow they have come, tempting God's light to earth for the ignorant race. His love to fill the hollow in men's hearts. His bliss to heal the unhappiness of the world. Love must not cease to live upon the earth, for love is the bright link twixt earth and heaven. Love is the far transcendence angel here. Love is man's lien on the absolute. So this is the power, and that's why Aurobindo, the whole of Savitri is ultimately about what? It is the victory of love and conjugal love over death. We should not forget conjugal love over death. But not dwelling more into it, finally we come to how to bring that love inside, how to develop this love. Well, very simply by loving the divine, because by loving him we grow into the likeness of the divine. So we learn to love truly. Divine loves this whole creation. He even forms special relations. When we look at, the divine play upon earth, it's not that he deals with everybody the same way. He forms special relations, but they are not relations determined by the ego self, but relations determined by the intrinsic truth of things. See, there are many stories in the life of Mother and Aurobindo. We know, for example, the story of Huttadi, and once, how she threw the flower that were given to her back, and she said, "Mother, I don't love you." And, she goes away that I'm packing the bags. She was prone to these, moments, and she wants to pack the bags. And this story, incidentally, she herself told me. So, she said, Mother sent, after a while, Vasudha Behan. Vasudha Behan comes and she is packing the bags. And she says, "Mother has sent you this card." Okay, I'll see. Keep it aside. You know what Mother told after you left? Yes, what did she say? You don't want to know? Yes, tell me. Mother said, "Look at this girl. She doesn't know how much she loves me." Mother is not even saying she doesn't know how much I love her. That is understood. Aurobindo, in one of the places in yoga, there are many beautiful short letters. One of them is, "Know that the mother loves you. Base your life on this one single truth." Not even know that you love the mother. That's not easy for human beings. But to know that the mother loves you, and the rest will follow. So, what Satyavan does, that we have to do. The yoga of Satyavan. It's a very beautiful passage, page 401. When he meets Savitri, now, Savitri is, of course, she is an incarnation of the divine, and he senses, because he is not an ordinary soul, that she is not an ordinary princess. There is something more to it than meets the eye. But he wants someone who can understand his own sorrows. So we want, a divine who can be like us, be with us. When someone asks the mother, "Mother, why did you come like us, human beings?" She said, "So that you can become and hope to become like me." She came like us. She married, she had a child. If you read her life, it's so interesting. She played tennis, she knew dancing, she knew painting, she knew music. She engaged with everything in the world. And that's because she could show us that yes, I can become human and seek that divinity. You too can ascend and become like me. So what Satyavan says, these are beautiful words because this is what we are seeking. And that's what I keep saying. There's the difference between the avatar and the master. The master is always here. So he is like sitting on a pedestal. And you see, tune into these channels where master is, people put all the ostentatious display and full mala and people sitting at the floor and master sitting on the table. Yes, you ignorant mortals, I'll show you the way and you walk the way. Mother doesn't do that. She comes down, holds our hands, sits with us and plays with us. If you read the early life of the ashram, how she would participate in everything. Like a child, she would become a child. She would play even ringa roses with the children. Can you imagine? Divine Mother with all that glory playing ringa roses in a room. That monkey sitting in her lap and she's caressing and they say, look, you can't be sitting in my lap all your life. You got to get down. This is the kind of love she became one with us. And that's what Satyavan wants to know. And this only the Divine Mother can do. So he when he sees Savitri, he asks her, although to heaven thy beauty seems allied, much rather would my thoughts rejoice to know that mortal sweetness smiles between thy lips. That yes, you are a goddess. What am I going to do with a goddess? The last love that a goddess had was with Pururavas and she left him in one stroke and went away. And poor Pururavas was left wondering, where is my goddess? Another came in Vishwamitra's life, had a child and left him and went away. So he says, I don't want a goddess. I want someone human. And this cry for man to see the divine, embodied divine, it's a great mystery. It's the mystery of mysteries. Much rather would my thoughts rejoice to know that mortal sweetness smiles between thy lips, and thy heart can beat beneath a human gaze, and thy aureate bosom quiver with a look, and its tumult answer to an earth-born voice. If our time-vexed affections thou canst feel, you are divine. I don't know. If I tell you my problems, you may just tell me these are no problems, but illusions. I don't want that stuff. Or if I tell you, you will say, be detached and, all this is of no meaning, no consequence. I don't want that. I want you to feel just as I feel. Can you do that? So this is what he asks from the Divine Mother. And then he says, I would very much want you to come, but what I can offer. You see what the Divine wants. Earth's ease of simple things can satisfy if thy glance can dwell content on earthly soil, and this celestial summary of delight, thy golden body dally with fatigue, oppressing with its grace our terrain, while the frail, sweet, passing taste of earthly food delays thee, and the torrent's leaping wine descend. So he says, I have this to give you. I have the water in the stream, I have this organic food grown naturally in the forest, and I have myself to offer in my hut, the soil of the earth. That's all I can offer. The divine doesn't want riches. We have that beautiful, we have this strange idea that, we can build or maybe, bargain divinity into listening to us by riches. If we have given everything, he may end up laughing and saying, oh, you beggar. This is there in Aurobindo's poem, one of the poems. What he wants is what we are. That's all he wants. A very beautiful experience of one lady, a clairvoyant lady, who was going to Aurobindo's room on her birthday, and suddenly she realized, where is the money? I had kept money for offering. She's searching for money and she doesn't find the money. And she's getting tense in Aurobindo's room. Oh, I got the money and all kinds of things. And she hears Aurobindo's voice. He tells her, you can offer your money anywhere, Here you offer yourself. You can offer your money. Don't think of, this I can give. Offer yourself. So Satyavan does this wonderful act. He says, I can give myself. That's what I am. And are you ready to accept me? And if you are ready to accept me, then descend and come and stay with me. That's what the mother wants. That's what self-giving means. Whatever we are, just as we are, we give ourselves to the divine. Let thy journey cease. Come down to us. And another place, 407, 408. Here again he describes the problem of human life and what is the bridge. And it is the Divine Mother. Again and again we go to the same thing. Problems, there are many problems. In old time there used to be a wonderful medicine called APC. I think our generation doesn't know. But yes, Asmukh Bhai is nodding his head. Surely he knows. I know in village, when you went to the doctor, he had two remedies. One was a powder which was called APC. You know what it was? Aspirin, paracetamol, caffeine. So you take it, your cold, cough, pneumonia, God knows, everything disappeared. And the second was a mixture. The mixture were of two types, pink and the green. And probably he did some magic mantra, this or that, or by random selection. I don't know till date, somebody got the green, somebody got the pink. And we should compare which mixture he gave you. Green one, oh, that's a very powerful mixture. So, 100 problems, but remedy was only one. So people want answer. I have this problem. That fellow doesn't listen to me. Okay, fine. What is the remedy? Turn to the mother. My child doesn't listen to me. I don't know whether what do you know? You don't know about yourself. How do you know about the child, whether he is going on the straight path or deviant path is not going to lead him to the straight path? Oh, psychology can be so complicated. It can be very simple. What do? Pray to the mother. Give him to the mother. No, I have a problem. I have, my business is not working well, and teach me some. There are 7 laws of spiritual success, and teach me some 1, 2, 3, 4 bullet points that I can incorporate and make sure my company works. What do? No, you just pray to the mother. What will the mother do? She will ensure business is successful. She may make sure it crashes, but you are successful. She may save your soul alive through that crash. My God, that's a dangerous mother. But yes, ultimately she will make sure that all your needs are met and you never are deprived. You don't have to stretch a hand and ask anyone. Oh, is it? I don't even have to ask for bank loans. It's a paradox of life. That the richer we are, the more we need to ask. Whereas the poorer you are happy, you can manage with that, and you ask for much more. When I was reading about all these bank loans, I was wondering, rich people have to ask things. I never knew this. You need to ask bank loans and you have to become a fugitive. Whereas, when you have little, you don't have needs. So anyways, that apart, so he says that, look, I have, what is my problem? And he reveals it very beautifully. Page 407. I looked upon the world and missed the self. So, he's looking for the one solution. And when I found the self, I lost the world. This is what everybody keeps complaining about. What do when I meditate, when I'm inside? I lose this world and I'm blissful and happy and free, But when I am engrossed in the world, then I forget this, isn't it? So the remedy is very simple. It's 3 simple words. Love the mother. Work for the mother. Don't work for company, for money, for this or that. Work for the mother. At home, love the mother. Love the mother in the little baby. He is Balakrishna. Love the mother in your wife. She is Mother Kali or Durga, depending on you. Divine Mother can assume many forms. So it depends on your state. If you come to her as an Asura, she will be Kali. Mahishasur Mardini. If you come to her as Shiva, the strong as well as the ready to please, benevolent, then she will be Mother Parvati and sit by your side happily, Gauri and Kali. So he says that this is my problem. And when I found the self, I lost the world. My other selves I lost, and the body of God. I lost everything in this journey. I don't want that, because this is the real problem. The link of the finite with the infinite, this is what we are seeking. The bridge between the appearance and the truth. The mystic aim for which the world was made, the human sense of immortality. This is our aspiration. Otherwise it makes a nonsense of creation, and therefore it makes a nonsense of the Creator who would thrust souls into ignorance at the end of a very dark and suffering and brutal and cruel span of lives. He says, look, okay, now, do one thing, get back to me. So what about this? Well, this is an illusion. My God, I went through all this. No, this was virtual reality. Nevertheless, for me it was reality. You call it virtual reality now. But, the suffering was real, the pain was real. So Aurobindo says, no, that's not why the earth was made. And then again you see the answer. But now the gold link comes to me with thy feet, and his gold sun has shone on me from thy face. To cling to her feet, to lose oneself looking at her, that is the secret of everything. For now another realm draws near with thee, and now diviner voices fill my ear. A strange new world swims to me in thy gaze. This is how our contact with the divine. First we come from a distance, then we, feel the gaze, the smile, and so on and so forth. And what do we say later on? And we'll end with those lines. Descend, O happiness, with thy moon gold feet. Enrich earth's floors upon whose sleep we lie. We are in a state of tamas. We are fallen. But if we fall, let us fall below thy feet. Amal Kiran very beautifully puts it in one of his talks. He said, I had this strange problem that I would fall for just any woman. And he said, I fell in love when I was 7-year-old. But this became a great capacity when finally I fell at the woman, the Divine Mother's feet. So if we have to fall, this is where we should fall, at her feet. And the rest is taken care of. O my bright beauty's princess, Savitri, by my delight and thy own joy compelled. There is no other reason for love. There is no other purpose. There is, if people say, why do you love? Well, if there is a purpose, it's not love. The only purpose can be, well, I feel happy. That's it. What do you get? What do you get? Why do you want to go to Pondicherry again and again? People used to often ask. What do you get there? We have so many sages and seers, and India, unfortunately, every village there will be somebody or the other, local Baba. So, no, that's not. We have Babas categorized. I have my own categories. Local Baba, global Babas. And focal Babas. So, local Babas are like your village and little community. Then focal Babas are those meant for you, specifically tailor-made. They are also designer Babas. And global Babas, high-flying Babas. But Babas are Babas, they are not going to fulfill this thirst. So he says that, that's not what I want. O my bright beauty's princess, Savitri, by my delight and thy own joy compelled. If you feel happy to come to me, and I am calling you because it gives me joy. What I'll get out of you, I don't know. I don't seek anything else. Just the joy of being with you. And there is a very beautiful line of the mother. It also comes in Sunilda's music. The delight of being with the divine, conscious of the divine, surpasses everything, surpasses creation, surpasses everything. Just the joy of that nearness. Mother puts it in one of her shortest prayers. A few moments spent in silence before thee are worth centuries of felicity. And that's why I say that please come to the ashram. Even if it is for few moments, it doesn't matter. One leaps centuries. People often ask, how to practice this yoga. Very simple. Come to the ashram, put your head over the samadhi, sit there for a few minutes. What will happen? You don't have to worry what will happen. Now it is the divine's, when you have gone there, what you will do? She will do what she has to do. And these last two lines, by my delight and thy own joy compelled, enter my life, thy chamber and thy shrine. So this is, of course, as I said, this is a mysteries of mysteries, a very delightful subject, an unending subject, but always in love there is much that remains unsaid. And often that's the most beautiful part. Even in the mystery of divine love, Aurobindo says, there is much more than the human tongue can utter. And really no one, even if you describe all the experiences that you have had, you cannot describe it. One mystic put it very beautifully. He says, no, tell a little more, what do you feel? Tell a little more, what did you experience? He said, look here now, I have told whatever I could say. Now you want to know what was the joy that I received when the divine intimately took me into his arms and planted a kiss upon my soul? How can I speak of this? This is too private and personal. So truly, love is like that, and divine love is indeed the mystery of mysteries. And all that we can say is that blessed is the day when we awaken to that love. And if one is awakened to that love, even to allow a trace of doubt in the mind that will I or won't I is blasphemy. There is no other blasphemy. It's like, I don't trust your love enough. That love will eventually transfigure us. However great the difficulties of nature, whatever be the problems, it may be a nature riddled with all kinds of things. But to love her and to wake up to her love is to ensure, if at all there is a shortcut to yoga, to ensure that eventually one will arrive to the shortest possible road to the great divine fulfillment. Okay, thank you so much.